Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we will be looking at AQA Alevel Psychology 2018 Paper 1 Exemplar Answers for Memory, which you need to know for AQA Alevel Psychology. I hope you enjoy this video and find it helpful. Let's get started. Please note that these answers have been produced with knowledge of the mark scheme but have not been approved by the mark scheme themselves. There are 3 assessment objectives, AOs, in psychology. In this video they are color-coded. AO1 Knowledge, purple. AO2 Application, blue. AO3 Evaluation, red and green. A researcher investigated the working memory model using a laboratory experiment. 40 students from a local college volunteered to take part. In Condition A, 20 students performed the following 2 tasks at the same time. Mentally counting backwards from 100. Tracking colored shapes on a computer screen. In Condition B, 20 different students performed the following 2 tasks at the same time. Mentally counting backwards from 100. Reading a poem out loud. The researcher predicted that the performance of students in Condition A would be better than the performance of students in Condition B. Question 1. Name the 2 components of working memory that would be involved in the performance of the tasks in Condition A, 2 marks. Mentally counting backwards from 100, phonological loop. Tracking colored shapes on a computer screen. Visuospatial sketchpad. Question 2. Briefly explain 2 ways in which the working memory experiment described above could be improved. 4 marks. One way the working memory experiment could be improved is by alternating the sampling method. Research should aim to have a larger sample size and, if possible, a random sampling method, e.g. stratified sampling, should be used to ensure a more representative sample. A second way the working memory experiment could be improved is by changing the nature of the tasks. Researchers should ensure that the tasks reflect everyday tasks for their participants, improved mundane realism. Question 3. Discuss one strength of the working memory model, 4 marks. A strength of the WMM is that it is supported by case study research. Chalice and Warrington, 1970, carried out a case study of patient KF, who was injured in a motorcycle accident. Following his accident, KF could recall stored information from his LTM, however KF had a severely impaired STM, particularly for verbal, acoustic, information, when KF read digits himself, compared to visual information, when someone else read digits to KF, suggesting selective impairment and indicating that different types of information may be processed and stored differently within STM. This is a strength because it suggests that the working memory model can account for variations in memory performance based on the type of information being processed. The selective impairment observed in KF indicates that short-term memory is not a single store but consists of different components that handle verbal and visual information differently. This supports the idea that memory is more complex than previously thought and that different modalities may operate independently within the short-term memory system. Question 4. Describe the cognitive interview. 6 marks. The cognitive interview technique is a method used primarily by the police to aid eyewitnesses in recalling information more accurately. It is based on Tulving's beliefs that several retrieval paths exist to memory recall and information not accessible by one path may be available using varying methods of recall. There are several different methods of recall used including context reinstatement, report everything, recalled from changed perspective and recalled in reverse order. Context reinstatement is when a person mentally recreates an image of the situation, including environmental and personal details and the person's emotional state of the event. For example, a person may recall the time of day, weather, sights, sounds, who they were with or feelings and thoughts. These details act as a trigger cue to help a person recall more information based on the principle of retrieval failure cue-dependent forgetting. Report everything is when a person recalls every single detail they can remember from the event, even those that may seem trivial, irrelevant, unimportant, or details that the witness isn't confident on. For example, what the offender witnesses were wearing. These details can act as triggers for other memories and help a person recall more important information or highlight something that has been overlooked. Recall from changed perspective is when a person mentally recreates the situation from a different point of view and recalls the event from someone else's perspective. For example, they might consider what the offender or another witness saw. This is done to disrupt the effect of expectations and schemas on recall and promote a more holistic view which may enhance recall. Recall in reverse order is when a person recalls the events in reverse chronological order to the original sequence. For example, from the end to the beginning. This is done to prevent a person reporting their expectations of how the event must have happened rather than the actual events, therefore improving accuracy. It also prevents dishonesty, as it's harder for people to produce a dishonest account if they have to reserve it. The features of the cognitive interview focus on social interaction, reducing anxiety and distractions, slowing speech, using open-ended questions to facilitate recall, avoiding leading questions, offering comments to help clarify witness statements, and allowing witnesses to take their time in their recall. Aaron was upset as he left the Spanish exam. In the unfamiliar room and full of nerves, his mind had gone completely blank. He was regretting studying both French and Spanish because he was sure he had mixed up lots of the words. Question 5. Outline one explanation of forgetting. How might this explanation account for Aaron's poor performance in the Spanish exam? 4 marks. Retrieval failure, cue-dependent forgetting, suggests that forgetting occurs because information is available in LTM but not accessible due to insufficient and the absence of appropriate cues, clues, prompts and triggers. Context, external, dependent forgetting occurs when the environment for learning and recall is different, e.g. room, smell, place, temperature. State, internal, dependent forgetting occurs when the physical or emotional state of arousal for learning and recall is different, e.g. mood, nervous, happy, sad, intoxication, drunk or on drugs. Tulving and Thompson, 1973, proposed the encoding specificity principle, ESP. Memory is most effective when information that was present at the time of encoding, when something is learnt, is also present at the time of retrieval, when something is recalled. If the cues available at encoding and recall are different or even absent, there will be some forgetting. They suggested that environmental and mental cues aid recall. Cues can be linked to the material and remembered in a meaningful way, e.g. mnemonics, or encoded at the time of learning but not in a meaningful way, e.g. context-dependent forgetting and state-dependent forgetting. Aaron is not in the same context as when he learnt the material for his Spanish exam, an unfamiliar room. Aaron is not in the same physical, emotional state as when he learnt the material, full of nerves. Question 6. Briefly evaluate the explanation of forgetting you have outlined in your answer to question 5. 4 marks. A strength of retrieval failure as an explanation of forgetting is that there is research to support retrieval failure having more validity than interference theory. Tulving and Sotka, 1971, showed how interference effects occurred due to the absence of any cues to aid retrieval. Participants were given word lists to remember, with one condition having category headings and another without. In conditions without category headings, fewer words were recalled than when headings were present, showing the information was available but simply unable to be accessed due to the absence of cues. This is a strength because it suggests that retrieval failure provides a more accurate explanation for forgetting than interference theory, as it highlights the critical role of cues in accessing stored information. The findings from Tulving and Sotka's research indicate that memory retrieval can be significantly enhanced by providing appropriate cues, reinforcing the idea that forgetting may often be a result of insufficient retrieval aids rather than the loss of information itself. A limitation of retrieval failure as an explanation of forgetting is that Tulving's encoding specificity principle is not falsifiable and therefore lacks scientific credibility. Baddeley, 1997, criticized the encoding specificity principle as impossible to test and verify for certain, making it unscientific. If a Q aids retrieval, then it could be argued to have been encoded in the memory. However, if it does not, then it could be argued that it wasn't encoded in memory as a Q. This is a limitation because it suggests that the encoding specificity principle may not provide a clear and testable framework for understanding memory retrieval. The lack of falsifiability means that it cannot be definitively proven or disproven, which undermines its scientific credibility and raises concerns about its reliability as an explanation for forgetting. This ambiguity can lead to confusion in interpreting research findings related to memory and retrieval processes. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Bye.